Hello, my name is Gerry Fisher. I'm a life and career coach located in Baltimore, Maryland, here in the United States. The topic for this video today is going to be how to make small talk. And let me introduce the topic by just telling you a little bit about the types of things that my clients work on here in my office. People come to me for a variety of different reasons. So some basic examples would be people are feeling a little stuck in their career. Perhaps they want it to move along a little quicker and to be more successful. Sometimes they say, I don't really know what I want to be when I grow up, and we work on career transition. But it can be any personal goal. It can be things like saving money. It can be having a difficulty with a relative and trying to interact with them in ways where fights don't occur. It could be losing weight, stopping smoking, or being shy and wanting to make more friends. It could be any personal goal at all. What's really interesting is that because we're human beings and because often we're going to have to deal with other people while we're working toward our goals, everything seems to begin and end with relationships. Relationships are really vital in having us have a sense that we're moving through life and things are smooth and we're competent and we're successful. And the very smallest unit of relationship is being able to connect with somebody when you first meet them and being able to talk comfortably in a way where you can very gradually warm up to each other and establish the groundworks or the very beginnings of an acquaintance. And so I'm talking about it in a really fancy way, but to sum it all up, the way that most people talk about it is they say, I'd like to make small talk with people. I'd like to be able to meet someone initially or meet somebody on the street or chat at a party and have it be really smooth and comfortable without feeling all this pressure. And so a lot of the work that I do with people, whether it be helping them to be better during an interview process for a job, or whether it be dating, or even if it's something as simple as I'd like to just feel as if I can go out to a party once in a while or chat with somebody in line while I'm at the store, I do a lot of work with people on how to interact in a way that's more comfortable and that's smoother. And oftentimes the way to begin that process is with small talk. So let's get started. I would say that the first thing that I help clients with in regard to small talk is to get rid of some of the misconceptions. I think there's a lot of social pressure out there where people feel that they need to be incredibly smart, so they have to be very intelligent in order to strike up a conversation, or they feel pressure to be funny or clever. You know, if I'm going to go up to that beautiful woman and say something, or if I'm going to take a chance and chat with somebody next to me, I don't want to look like a fool. I want to look like I'm bright and I'm capable and I'm intelligent, and I don't want to get a bad reaction. Now, I don't want you to look like a fool either, but when you approach small talk that way, it just puts way too much pressure on it. And when people are operating under pressure, they're more likely to make mistakes and things are more likely to go poorly. So what I recommend with small talk is to take the complete opposite tactic, which is that instead of trying to be smart and clever and funny, what you want to do is you want to start off really simple, I would say. Because remember, you're not the only person who might be nervous, or you might not be the only person in this exchange who feels a little bit of pressure to perform. So I think everybody appreciates it if we set the bar really low and we talk about something that's very simple so that everybody can kind of warm up and get used to each other before we get onto some of the more complex topics. So what you want to do is you want to relax and you want to use your 5 senses. So you want to notice what you're seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. And when something occurs to you and crosses your mind that's very simple, that's going on in the environment around you, if you have an impression about that or a question about it, you can share it with somebody who's close to you. And then once you get a reaction from that person, that'll determine how far you can take it, whether you can keep going with that category or not. So let me start by saying, and usually when I'm working with a client, I say, what's the topic of conversation that 90% of the time when people don't know each other very well, they start off with this topic. And so the first thing people say is, well, people usually say, how are you doing? And that's true. And then the next line, oftentimes, 80 to 90% of the times, would be what? Exactly. People will talk about the weather. So they'll say, nice day we're having out there, or I didn't know it was supposed to rain today. The reason why that's really good to start with a topic like that is because the weather is something that everybody is experiencing. We all had to get up this morning, get ready in our homes, we had to get into our cars or take a walk, and we had to move to where we are now, and we've experienced the weather. Maybe it's just a simple matter of looking out the window and seeing what's happening out there. But it's a very safe, comfortable, easy topic, and it's a really great way for people to get warmed up a little bit before they move on to other topics. Now, the next thing you want to do with small talk is that again, as I mentioned earlier, you just want to take a look at what's going on, notice any impressions that you have about that, and then I would say that your impressions would fall into one of two categories. It would be a question that you have or a statement that you want to make about something that's happening. And again, keep it really simple. Keep it really restricted to something that's happening around you so it's easy for both of you to understand what you're talking about. The next bit of advice I would give you is be sure to use a good amount of active listening, especially if you're a shy person or you have trouble talking or you need to warm up a little bit before you talk. Active listening is a way where you can let the other person do a lot of talking, but you can still participate in the conversation. So it's really helpful for shy people. Active listening means that as you're listening, be sure that you're doing simple things like saying or making really brief comments like that's really interesting or oh cool, nice. Just little verbal acknowledgments or facial expressions or little noises that we use as we're listening to let the other person know that we are indeed listening, and you can nod your head as well. But you can make it even more active than that. As you're listening, if the person says something that you have a question about, so for example, if they said, boy, it's raining today, I didn't think it was supposed to rain, you could say, oh, well, what was the forecast for today? And that would be an example of following up with a question that's really just active listening. All you're doing is you're helping the other person to elaborate on what he or she is talking about. The other thing that you could do with active listening is just make a really brief comment that you agree with the person or that you've heard the person. So the person could say, oh, it's raining out, and I didn't think that that was supposed to be happening. You could say, I know, I feel the same way. So that's not really so much you talking, it's more that you have listened to the person and then you're acknowledging to that person what you've heard. So it's a really easy, nice way for you to maintain contact with somebody and to be saying something without having to come up with some new topic of conversation. So at some point, there could be a pause in the conversation and somebody needs to come up with a new topic. You can only get so far with, hi, how are you doing? I'm doing pretty well today. Boy, can't believe it's raining today. Yeah, I know, I thought it was supposed to be sunny. Pause. So at that point, somebody needs to come up with another topic to the conversation. And again, I guess the first step would be you want to be comfortable with the pause. You don't want to feel pressured to have to fill up the conversation instantly while having no silence. So you can just smile and you can just stand there and let a second go by and see if anything occurs to you that you'd like to share with the other person. And again, it just involves what are you seeing around you, what are you hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. Is something happening that you can point to and say, oh, look at what's happening. So I thought what I would do at this point in the video is just talk a little bit about a party situation, and we can use that imaginary environment to try to come up with some possible topics of conversation for people. And again, keeping it very simple and very much related to what's going on in the environment. Nothing too witty or intelligent here. So if you're at a party, let's say that you're talking to someone or there's somebody next to you and you're both at the food table. Probably the most obvious thing that both of you are experiencing at that time would be the food. And again, keep it simple. Don't get too elaborate or clever. You could say, oh, this is a nice spread. Or, oh, they included broccoli. That's great. That's one of my favorites. Or, oh, I heard this was a barbecue, but I don't see any barbecue food here. Are they barbecuing out back? So just some kind of comment, some kind of notion that occurs to you while you're both standing at the food table. And then what you do is you listen for the kind of response. And if you get an enthusiastic response, you can continue on that topic. If you get a grunt, or a one-word response, then you might want to let another pause go by, give it a rest for a little bit, and then maybe try another topic of conversation. But briefly, let me try to list some of the things that would be good to talk about. And I want you to do this imagination exercise, and I'll do it too. We're imagining that we're in a house party. So you could talk about the food. You could talk about the music. Oftentimes there's music playing. Perhaps the TV is on or there's a video. You could talk about the house, how the house is decorated, or something that's on the wall, a picture. You could talk about the silverware. You could talk about the neighborhood that the house is in. You could talk about the other people at the party. I'm not necessarily recommending that you be a big gossip, but you can make a remark about what somebody's wearing. Somebody's got a cool hat on, or there's a funny t-shirt with a great slogan on it. Or perhaps somebody spills a drink and you turn to the person next to you and say, I'm surprised I'm the one who didn't do that. If it's very genuine, if it's something that you see at the party and it pops into your mind, and then you just put it out there and see what kind of reaction you get from other people. You can discuss the host. So, how do you know the host of the party? And that could be a good topic of conversation. So notice how a really simple event, like a really basic house party, we just came up with 7, 8, 9, 10 different things that you could observe in your environment and just make very simple comments or have very simple questions about, and other people could respond. I should also add that you need to be a really good sport, that if you try 2 or 3 topics of conversation and you're getting one-word answers or grunts, then that basically means that the person isn't interested in talking to you. And that doesn't say anything about you or anything about your skill level. Even the most experienced small talkers in the world will encounter somebody who's just not interested in talking. And what I recommend is that you politely excuse yourself and that you smile and then move to the other part of the room to try to talk to somebody else. And just be a really good sport about it and don't take it personally, because it happens to everybody. Finally, to end this video, I thought what I would do is share with you one of my most fond memories of a time when I was learning how to make small talk, and it amuses me and I hope you get a kick out of it too. But I was at a party and I was very shy as a child, and I had difficulty actually learning how to talk to other people as well. And so I was interested in practicing my small talk skills, and I saw this gentleman and I wanted to talk to him, and I couldn't figure out what I could do to strike up a conversation. And then as he's standing in front of me, I glanced down and I noticed that he has a package of cigarettes in his back pocket. And this thought occurs to me, how come he doesn't break all of his cigarettes when he sits down? And then I kind of start to chuckle to myself. So he turns around and he starts to walk past me, and I just touched his shoulder really gently and I said, I know this is a crazy thought, but I saw those cigarettes in your back pocket and I don't know how you don't sit on them. And he started to laugh and he said, I know, I don't understand how I get away with that either. And we had a really nice 10-minute conversation. So it really can be something as simple as that, as just sharing an observation that you have that you might think is amusing, and then see if it catches fire and catches the interest of the other person, and then taking it from there and being as relaxed and comfortable as you can about it. So I hope that the tips that I've offered in this video have been helpful. I think that the ability to, I hope that practicing and improving your skill at small talk is something that really leads to a lot of joy in your life, because it's connected to so many things that are important to us, such as dating, making new friends, and being able to get along with coworkers and to get past the interviewing process. It all begins with small talk. And so good luck with that, and most importantly, have fun. Thank you for watching.